Okay, so I want to start out with just how SEO used to be. Back when I got into digital marketing back in 1999, you had your website and you would go and do keyword research. And when we talk about keyword research, we are going to work on this in detail. But basically, these are the terms that you rank on in the search engines. This is when someone types in a search query, like Allison has said, what does Google know about my website? That's a keyword. So even though it sounds singular, keyword is really just a phrase, a search phrase. And so back in the day, we would do our keyword research. Then after we did the keyword research, we would create content. And really what this was is we would create one page for every keyword we were trying to rank on. Back when I got started, the search engines weren't as advanced enough to know when something was misspelled. So we would create a page for a misspelled keyword phrase. And so we would have hundreds of pages that were the same thing, really. For instance, I was very involved in SEO with car insurance. My company generated leads for the insurance companies using SEO. And so you have auto insurance, car insurance, vehicle insurance, truck insurance. And really, it's all the same thing, but we would just have all of these pages. And then optimizing meant, okay, we're going to just put a ton of that phrase all over it, everywhere. And you got really early in the day, you had what was called keyword stuffing, where if you scroll to the bottom, and I wish I had taken screenshots because I saw this, guys, where people would take the keyword they're trying to rank on and they would put it like 1,000 times at the bottom of the page and they would make it white. So the user wouldn't be able to see it. It would just look like a blank page because it's white on white. But the search bot, the spider that's coming and looking at your web page, is seeing this keyword hundreds of times. And it worked for a while. And then the search engines are like, okay, we're smart enough to figure this out. And then the final component is building backlinks. And you're going to hear the term backlinks a lot. And I think we talked about it even last week. That is a website that links to your website. And when I really got into SEO, and this would be 2006, 2005, that was the number one thing. If you had 1 million links that were linking to your website, you would rank number one. And we did. Like, we would go buy links all over the place. Russia is really known for being in the SEO industry, but also helping you get backlinks. And so we worked with Russia all the time getting backlinks. I am here to tell you that doesn't work anymore. In fact, let me show you how the SEO strategy looks today. Okay. So you have your website. Now, instead of just going straight to keyword research, you're going to look at what your website has to offer. You're going to look at your competitive health strategy. And CHS, or your competitive health strategy, that's a Paul Wilson original. If you go Google this, you're not going to find it. But I have learned this is so essential. And if you don't do this, you're going to be spinning your wheels. So we're going to go through that. This was something that I actually added this semester due to this class last semester. And that is diving into your industry and seeing how your industry does it differently. We had a young lady last semester who was focusing on a musician. If you're trying to rank your website and you're a musician, you're actually going to do your SEO a bit different. And so her and I worked really closely on the differences. And it helped me realize that I'm not helping you guys if you're not looking at your industry and applying it back and saying, okay, all the things I'm learning are great, but here are some additional things that I need to do. So this is just the very first phase of it. After that, we dive into the data. And this data may be the data that you have from your website. So the analytics that you're saying, hey, this is how many people are coming to the website. This is your social data. So if you're on Facebook or YouTube, they all give you analytics. And so you're going to see, as you guys saw last week, I talked about how this course is tailored to Devin Supertramp, who's a YouTube influencer. And when I sat down with him, he gave me his YouTube analytics, which drastically helped us and changed his strategy for SEO. The other part of the data is the user. You're going to become really aware of the people that you want to come to your website. You're going to look at exactly who they are, which is buyer personas or search personas as we use it here in this course. You're going to look at how do they search, what's a day in the life of them, and most importantly, you're going to look at what you guys by the end of this semester will have heard 1,000 times, and that is search intent. Probably the most important thing in SEO these days is search intent. Search intent is you trying to understand what Google is answering with the queries that are in the results. So if we type in, let's use Cameron's website with how to raise rodents, and you type in, what do I feed my rat? You're going to look at, okay, what is Google giving back that thinks answer that question? Because if you're not answering that question, you're never going to rank there. Search intent is so vital. And so you'll see that as part of the data phase as you're collecting data. I do want to note here, just to make this class universal for everyone, I am not going to require you to gain access to the analytics of the website. I will have tutorials for you guys to go through, because the course that I do with Pluralsight, I walk them through it. So you'll have that there, but you're not going to be required to do it. Once you have, okay, I understand my website, you know, my industry, I have all the data. Now let's dive into the strategy. And you're going to look at your content strategy, which breaks up into content design and content marketing, and your backlink strategy, like how to get sites to rank to you. And this right here, this really is the strategy. You're putting together all the pieces, and it's not until you figure out who you're going to partner up with these specific strategies here that you really get into what most people are familiar with, the 3 pillars of SEO: technical SEO, on-page SEO, and off-page SEO. And if I can just make it more complex for you guys, you can break these up into 3 phases. So you have the discovering phase, which is what we're going to cover today. You have the planning phase, and you have the executing phase. And then through all of these phases, you're evaluating, okay, I have this data, I have this understanding, and you're constantly iterating through all of them. If you're not doing that, you're not going to be as effective or good at SEO. So this is what SEO looks like today to be successful. The way we used to do it in the past, I still have friends who tried to do that because it was so much easier, guys, so much easier. They don't get very far, and I can absolutely attest to that. But as the old proverb goes, how do you eat an elephant? Anyone want to answer that one? Yeah, Flora, say it. I saw your mouth moving.
Just bite by bite?
One bite at a time. That's how you eat an elephant. So that's what we're going to focus on today, is your website, its competitive health status, and your industry. So we're going to dive right into that. You guys have already done the very first step, which is your SEO survey. And there's a reason why this survey is extremely important. And that is, it really helps you to spend time on your website. So what this is a slide from your homework right here. So for your homework, your very first question is, what's your website's domain? Everybody should get that. Which one are you working on? You put it there. Then what I want you to do is I want you to spend time on your website. Now, I know for some of you, you have spent a lot of time on your website. And so if it's your own personal website, I want you to still go through it and think to yourself, how can I improve it? So my website, plw.me, I was on it yesterday with Taffy. She had asked me a question. I was like, oh, here, let me go show you. And I realized that my social shares for every article that I publish, they weren't on any longer, which is pretty standard to have a blog post say, hey, share this on Facebook, Twitter, whatnot. And so that's what I want you to look at that. I want you to go through and I want you to look at other sites. I want you to be even more familiar with your site. And when I did this with Devin's site, so I noticed he had hardly any content, even his videos that he's famous for, he really didn't have anything on there. I noticed with his main navigation, when you clicked on several of the links, it took you to different websites, which isn't helpful for what we're trying to do for him. The last one, just to show you how much time that I spent on it, I noticed at the bottom of his page, his copyright said 2020, which normally there's some code that should update your copyright every single year. It just looks at the timestamp on your server and it updates it. And so it's these sort of little things that you're looking for, what questions come out of it. Anytime I do any SEO on anybody's site, I spend a good 2 hours just clicking on it, because a lot of people, just as I was saying, like I know Flora and I know Taffy and Cameron, and Daryl, I know you're doing your bio site. You guys spend a ton of time on there and you're like, yeah, I know it, but I promise you, you don't. And so look at it, look for improvements, figure it out, find 5 things if it's your site that you can improve on, or if it's a client site, look for questions that you have. You can do improvements as well. I'm fine with that, but I just want you to spend time knowing your website. Okay? Does that make sense for that aspect of your homework? All right, let's go to how does Google view your website? And this is really important. The very first thing you're going to do is you're just going to put the domain into Google. So let's do that. Let me open up a Google page here. So for, you guys can see the browser, yes? Yep. So if I go to, let's just go to google.com, because if I just type in Devin's site there, and all I want to do is put in devinsupertramp.com. Okay, so we can see here, this is everything that shows up for his domain. What you're specifically looking for, guys, if his site did not show up as #1 for his site's domain, there's a good chance it's penalized. And I don't care how good you are at SEO, you cannot do SEO on a penalized website. So that's the very first thing you're going to do. You're going to say, okay, does my site show up as #1? There's really only one reason other than being penalized that it wouldn't show up as #1. And that would be as if you're a new site. So if you're a brand new site, and I'm talking like days, maybe a week or so, Google probably won't know you, but you would be surprised how fast the Google bots work in finding you. So if you're not a brand new site and you're not showing up for yourname.com or .whatever it is, there's a good chance you have a problem. Now, the other things I want you to look at is, what does Google feel is associated with your brand name? Because ultimately that domain is your brand. So we can see right away it has Devin's portfolio, it has the videos, so YouTube, Wikipedia, it has his Wikipedia page, his Facebook page, his Twitter page, his LinkedIn page, his Instagram page. So you can see this is all his social extensions, and you want to look at your social extensions as part of your brand. So if your Facebook page isn't showing up, or your Instagram, or anything, any place you're on social media, you need to make sure that you share that on your website so Google can say, oh, this is a real business. Because that's what Google's looking for is, do I trust you enough? Are you really going a business, or are you a spammer? Because a spammer is not going, most of the time, not going to spend all this time creating a brand with all these other channels like what we've seen here with Devin. Okay?
Just to make sure I understand, when it's penalized, that means they've done something black hat and they got caught?
Potentially, yes.
Okay.
There's also what is called negative SEO, where people can do negative things. So I just had a friend reach out to me 2 days ago saying that she found that there were websites linking to her that said spammy, scam, all these things. And so they're giving these cues to Google to try to make it so she doesn't rank, or that it makes it so she's not trusted. Another thing, you might have what is called a domain injection. Basically, you've been hacked, and the hacker's using your site to rank off of other things. And so Google is pulling back. There's so many rabbit holes with this that I realize that I am not as helpful. I can guide them to who they need to go to, but there could be a lot of reasons you're getting penalized.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, no problem. Here's some other ways to look at Google. How many of you are familiar with search operators? Oh, I love it. I love it. I love it. I love it. Okay, so first of all, I just want to show the homework here. You have to do a screenshot. Guys, you're going to be doing tons of screenshots. So I put a link in on the homework. If you don't know screenshots, there's an article that shares how to do it. So I took a screenshot here. You can see I just have his domain and I'm showing that. So the next one, I'm going to give you just several search operators. And search operators, let's do here. Google has like 1,000 different ways where you can really dig into Google search. So this one, Moz is a good one. SEMrush has it. But it's this right here where you put additional characters in to tell Google to do something. For example, the first one I'm going to give you, you have to do 5. I'm going to give you 3. So you can copy exactly what I've done here. The first one is site:/devinsupertramp.com. This is telling Google only show me the pages that you have found on Devin Supertramp. So it says here that there's 22 pages it's found. It shows me like his contact page, stock footage. It in essence says, hey, here's everything we know that your website has. So a search operator, let me clarify this. It's this site: here. It's telling Google, I want you to search in a specific way. That's what a search operator is. So this one is saying just search the website. The next one we can put on here, Devin said, I really want to pull up for the keyword 4K. Okay, 4K is just the definition, high definition of video. Let's do the search operator all in text. So we're going to say, when you're searching these pages, only show me the pages that have all in text 4K. So when we do that, or in text, that's what it is. So if we do in text, there we go. So we see that there are 4 pages that have 4K found on it. And if we look at these 4 pages, none of them are really about 4K. So that would be something that I could put about my website saying, hey, I really would like to be found on this, but really nothing is here. I also have another search operator is if you put quotation marks around something. So if we put in here, let's actually go to Devin's site and let's take a sentence from his site. So let's take this sentence right here, copy it. So I'm doing Command C. I come back in here and delete that. And then I put quotation marks around the sentence. This right here says, search for this exact phrase. Don't just give me pieces of it. I want the exact phrase. And what I'm looking for here are there other websites that are basically plagiarizing? And so when I do this, there's 8 other pages. Obviously, Devin is the very first one, which tells me that Google says, we know this is the original site. But if any of these sites here, which let's say you've got, I can't even pronounce these sites, restaurant, I don't know. If any of these were ranking number 1, it would tell you that Google feels that this site is over your brand. And that's a problem. So you could do legal action here saying you need to remove this content. For me, these look like just spam sites and they're never going to outrank Devin. So I don't even bother with it, but it is something that I look at. Does that make sense on how to do these search operators? I will tell you, if you go and learn just a handful of these search operators, Google is going to come alive to you in ways you have never seen before. So here's your homework. I did the screenshot and I share right here, the search operator, have the screenshot, the search operator, and then this is the one where I put quotation marks around it to look at it. So you got to do 5 of these. That's the first part of your homework. I'm going to do another meeting this week so that we can go through the whole thing, because it really is helpful for you guys to just get the discovery phase out. This is the search operators, but if you Google it, guys, you'll just type in Google search operators, you'll find it. So let's talk about your offering. As stated at the beginning of this, when people don't really think through what their website is offering users, it creates a mess. Like, you really want to help people know when they come, what exactly they're going to get out of it. If you don't, you're going to get websites like this. This is an actual website, lingscars.com, no idea what he's offering, or a website like this. And if you go to this, I actually have this. I don't want anybody to have seizures, so be careful of that. But these sites are all over the board. You have no idea what they're offering. And so you want to really carefully put together a strategy here and think through, what is it that my site has? And that's where your survey comes in to play, and really looking at, okay, what are all the elements here? And there's 3 questions that I have everybody look on. And I actually don't have you guys doing this for your homework, but it'll help you understand when we get into what I call the promises of your site. So the 3 survey questions, you have, what is the main purpose of your website? Who are the primary individuals or organizations that your website helps? And how does your website help these individuals or organizations? And really, those 3 questions are asking this: who are you? Who do you help? How do you help? If you can answer those 3 questions, who are you? Who do you help? How do you help? You're going to be able to understand that much better the offering of your website. So let me just give you a couple examples. This Quanta is an investment site, but looking at it, what is their who are you? Who can tell me what the who are you is?
There are people who invest in the residential property.
Yeah, they are passionate residential investors, and they hit right away, right on their homepage, this is us. And then they go into more depth about it. Let's do this next one. Who does this company help?
Startups.
Startups. Where do you see that?
Basically in each section. So you've got startups, entrepreneurs, shareholders.
Yep. This again, this is on their homepage here. It's ECAP partner. They, on their homepage, say, this is who we help. Okay, now let's do the last. Well, there's actually one more. This is a utility company in the Netherlands, and I felt they nailed how you help. How did they share how they help?
Those 3 things over there, so they can help to adjust advance, help them to change contact information, and report, register the move.
Yep. In fact, this whole page, you'll see right here, they say that what you just said, and then they put it down there just to make it even that more clear. This is the final one, and these guys like nailed it. I love this because you have, who are you? They're a commercial parking company. They specifically focus on geotextile. The next one, who do you help? This actually, if you go to this website, it's rollpark.us. It rotates out to say we help municipalities, universities, special events. It's just rotating throughout it. And then down here, how do you help? So literally, guys, we can see in 4 areas on their site, who are you? Who do you help? How do you help? Very well done. How do these 3 questions help you?
If we don't understand who we are and who we're helping, how can we provide that? Like, how can we create stuff that's going to help them and know what we're doing if we don't know it ourselves?
Yep. Cameron might as well be the SEO Cheshire Cat when Allison in Wonderland, she's like, would you tell me please which way I ought to go from here? That depends a good deal on where you want to go, said the cat. I don't much care where, said Alice. Then it doesn't matter which way you go. And you guys have all seen websites like this. I can't stress enough understanding your vision and where you want to go. And that really leads to the promises. And this needs a lot more time than the 2 minutes, 1 minute that we have left. So I'm going to just pause it here and let's answer any questions you might have while we wait. All right, well, then I will let you go.
Okay. Bye. Thank
I'll
you.
let you know when we reschedule the next one.